Truth with Pierre Power Chord. Truth. The truth. The truth. The truth. The truth. Do you want to hear the truth?
Good morning. Today's subject is learn to say no. Have you sometimes said yes to something that you knew later on was the wrong decision to make? If you have people pleaser tendencies, it can be difficult to say no. Sometimes it's because you don't want to disappoint someone or you're seeking approval. Many people hesitate to say no, even when they are overstressed, overbooked, and just too busy to take on anything else. So you're not alone in this. Many people struggle to say no. Being unable to set boundaries and say no can contribute to more stress, which may eventually turn to resentment. You know how it goes. Fortunately, you can learn how to say no to people without causing hurt feelings or impaired relationships. So we're going to try and see the different ways that you can say no and the reasons why you should say no. So let's start right at the beginning. Why is it important to say no to people sometimes? Let's get into it. So, the first very important point why you have to say no sometimes is saying no establishes boundaries. Boundaries demonstrate what you're willing to accept in a relationship and how you accept to be treated. They're important for relationship dynamics and for mental well being at the end of the day. Second point, saying no limits stress. Taking on too much or saying yes to things you really don't want to do creates excessive stress. Stress can take on a serious toll on your health and well being, particularly when it comes to something that you don't have the time to do. Have you ever had that boss that keeps chucking the workload off on you because they just don't have the time to do it? Yet you look at them and they're never doing anything. I've been in a situation where someone has asked me to do something and I said no to them. Guess what? They still pursued it and they carried on pursuing it. And I just ignored them because they knew the answer was no to begin with and I wasn't going to budge from no. No is still no. So, where and when is it okay to say no? Okay, knowing when to say no to other people can also be helpful. Every situation is obviously different and will present its own challenges. But there are some common settings you might find yourself struggling to say no in. And the first one, as I've mentioned earlier on, is work. Saying no at work is necessary at times, but can also come up with added pressures. Turning down projects might lead to fears that you will be passed over for promotions or things like that. And you might worry that saying no to coworkers will negatively affect your relationship with them and possibly lead to dismissal in the long run, because that's the reality of today. But it's important to remember, however, that it is difficult to perform well if you take on too much. When you're overworked, it means you're not able to do your best. This can hurt your productivity and the quality of your work to begin with. So if you're having trouble saying no at work, remind yourself that you need to use your time to do your best possible work on the project you are currently focused on, and you can't deviate all the time. And the next time and place you sometimes have to say no is in a relationship. Saying no to your partner can be particularly challenging, let's face it. While you might want to say yes to the things your partner wants or needs, it's important to protect your own needs and interests in a relationship. Sometimes that means setting boundaries and saying no. When you create boundaries, you help your partner get a better understanding of what is important to you. This can help them know you better, which will ultimately strengthen your relationship. Because relationships are about give and take. Saying no to your partner might mean making compromises. For example, you might say no to be hanging out with your partner's friends every single weekend, but agree to attend a work event with your partner. Don't be an imbecile. Be flexible and don't say no to everything just because you can say no. Being flexible and willing to compromise allows you to support your partner while still making time for yourself. Understand it's about both of you together and both of your needs, not just yours. So the next one to say no to sometimes is friends and family. And this is quite a difficult one because people know you well in this setting. And they often know what you're thinking before you even say it. But it's necessary sometimes to say no. And with family and friends, sometimes it's better just to be direct and just say, no, you can't. When you start giving excuses and putting things in the way, now I have to do this, it starts sounding like excuses. So rather just keep your yes, yes, and your no, no. But also keep in mind that as Christians, there's some things we are told to do. The Bible tells us to do certain things, and you can't turn it down every time because you don't feel like doing it, because it's part of your Christian walk. And remember, if you're going to love God and if you're going to love people, you sometimes have to go into sacrifice. And sacrifice is very important as a Christian. So you need to get your facts and your acts together before you say no and before you say yes. Okay, but if you have to say no, you must be firm about it, not defensive or overly apologetic and polite. This gives the signal that you are sympathetic but will not easily change your mind if they put pressure on you. And like I said, with that person I was talking about earlier on that didn't want to take no for an answer, they knew I did it in a firm manner and they knew it was actually no. Also, the next one is skip excuses. If asked for an explanation, remember that you really don't owe anyone one. If it doesn't fit with your schedule, it is perfectly acceptable because people would do the same to you if they couldn't have time to do what it is they wanted you to do. So I'm going to give you some examples of how to say no. This is the way you say it. I'm too busy today. Maybe I can help out some other time. That's a legitimate answer. Or I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. Is there some other way I could help? If the things are not things that align with your morals or boundaries in life, sometimes you have to say no too. Or I'm feeling overwhelmed with work right now, so I'm going to have to take a rain check. Another one, I'm not qualified to help with that project. Or that sounds really fun, but I won't be able to make it. Or another one, no, I have a previous commitment, but maybe next time. And the last one, I'd love to help, but I can't right now. Could you ask me again later? So actually the concept of saying no is deeply rooted in biblical teachings, emphasizing the importance of discernment and self-control and obedience to God's will. Throughout Scripture, the ability to refuse temptation and stand firm in one's convictions is portrayed as a vital aspect in a faithful Christian life. In James 5 verses 12, this is what it says: let your yes be yes and your no be no, so that you may not fall under condemnation. So what the Bible is saying is, stick to what you say. If it's yes, make sure you do it. And if it's no, make sure you stick to that too. So we need to understand our own boundaries. As we navigate our spiritual lives, it's essential to recognize that saying no is not really a negative act. Instead, it reflects a healthy understanding of our own boundaries. Setting limits helps us take good care of ourselves and our relationships with others. When we begin to understand our own limits, we can better articulate our needs to others. The Bible encourages us to be responsible for what we can handle. In doing so, we honor both ourselves and those around us. Here's a great example about boundaries in the Bible. Proverbs 25 verse 17 says this: seldom set foot in your neighbor's house, lest they become weary of you and hate you. Wow, that's quite hectic. And Galatians 1 verses 10 says this: am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I was still trying to please people, I would not be able to be a servant of Christ. And the last verse I'm going to leave you with this morning is 1 Corinthians 10 verses 23. And listen to this one: I have the right to do anything you say, but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but not everything is constructive. I hope you have a wonderful week. Please subscribe to my channel and pop the like button. It will help me immensely spread the word. Thank you. Cheers.